Welcome to Drive Time. You know, when Jen and I do our radio show over on AM 1040 in Tampa, we often make fun of the fact that I might be just a couple of years older than Jenna.
Oh, just a little bit.
Just a little bit, but truthfully, I've been doing sports radio now since Jenna was 7 years old.
Okay, let's not
think
on
about
you
that.
too much now.
No, wait a minute. You're 30 years old, but I've been doing this 23 years. And for 23 years of doing sports radio, I'm still having the conversation about whether or not Pete Rose should be back in baseball. It's the first conversation we ever did in sports radio, and today we're still doing it.
And it just continues. And of course, as we were getting ready for the show, lo and behold, Pete Rose is having a press conference from Las Vegas, which is where he now makes his home, talking about the fact that he still is being denied entry into baseball's immortal Hall of Fame. And really, can you blame the folks with Major League Baseball for not wanting to put him in Cooperstown?
Well, there's really two issues going on here. And what happened was, first, Pete Rose applied for reinstatement to baseball to be somebody who could work within Major League Baseball as a coach, as a front office person, as a broadcaster, or something like that. He's done some broadcasting work in the studio, but not in the ballpark. But here's the thing. Pete Rose had to go to Rob Manfred, who, by the way, had a very open mind about this. I think Rob Manfred wanted to reinstate Pete Rose. I really do.
I think he was more open-minded than Bud Selig was.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think he wanted to put it behind him. And look, Pete Rose is in his 70s now. It's time to let all that go. But during the process, during the interviews, Pete Rose, who pretty much works out of his restaurant in Las Vegas, told Rob Manfred that in Las Vegas, he goes to the betting windows, and he's still betting on Major League Baseball. How are you going to be reinstated into Major League Baseball if you're still gambling on the game?
And the thing is that, you know, for years and years, 2 decades, he denied gambling on baseball. And then 2004, he comes out with his memoir and admits, yeah, I did gamble in baseball. I even gambled as a manager. I mean, that just dropped a bomb there, and it confirmed everyone's suspicions. And so now it's just really tough to backtrack. I applaud his honesty in that regard.
First time he's honest, it's the wrong time.
Yeah, exactly. But how can you trust him to be involved with baseball? And not just that, but it's almost like mocking things when he goes out and moves to Vegas. I mean, what else is he doing out there? Why else would he move to Vegas? To start his restaurant?
He is not going to be reinstated into the game. Now, the Hall of Fame is a separate issue. Prior to the whole Pete Rose blow-up, it was never banned for the writers to gain entry to the Hall of Fame, give entry to the Hall of Fame to somebody who was on the permanently ineligible list. That rule was changed to keep Pete Rose out. It had always been up to the writers in the past. That rule can be changed back. And Rob Manfred said Hall of Fame is a different element from reinstating him into the game. So that discussion is still on the table. And as far as I'm concerned, he does belong in the Hall of Fame.
Well, it's hard to argue with what he was able to do out there. Over 4,200 career hits. I mean, that's well and above the required really number, even though there isn't a standard requirement. That's well above the required production to get into Cooperstown. But just the idea that he lied about it for so many years and he bet on baseball. Hey, you know what? I grew up and my dad was a big Pete Rose fan. My dad was even his bat boy at one point. So I can certainly understand the admiration and appreciation for what he did for the game, but at the same time, compromising the integrity of the game. I think that's the thing that really fans just have a really hard time sitting with, and that's ultimately probably going to keep him out of the Hall of Fame.
Major League Baseball has not been on the up and up entirely in the whole Pete Rose situation. They've had an agenda against him. They didn't always behave in the best way either.
Do you think they did have an agenda against him?
Oh, particularly after Bart Giamatti passed away. Some of Bart Giamatti's people kind of blamed Pete Rose for his death, and they took it out on Pete Rose harder than they needed to be. That is all true. And Bart did some things during the whole Pete Rose come down that wasn't right either. I mean, you know, for example, they made an agreement. They signed an agreement where they would never say that Pete Rose bet on baseball. And the very next day, Bart Giamatti went out in a press conference and said, well, he probably bet on baseball. So, you know, not everybody was good in all this. But right now, looking at this today, hey, Pete, you got nobody to blame but yourself.